Using proprietary activated carbon technologies, Birchtech is a provider of environmental solutions for the clean air and clean water industries. CEO Rick MacPherson is here to provide an update on the company's progress in the clean air sector and discuss yesterday's announcement of the commercialization of its water treatment business with the receipt of a $900,000 purchase order. I'm Martin Gagel with Radius Research, and please remember this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Rick, thanks for joining us, and congrats on your first sale in the water treatment market.
My pleasure, and thank you very much for that.
All right, so give us a little bit of, for people who maybe don't know the story that well, talk about the water treatment market, what your solution is in there, and what this initial purchase order means for Birchtech.
Sure. So we've been working for some time now, especially after we added several new salespeople to the water side to build out our water treatment division with sales of materials that cross pretty much all lines of water treatment, both the industrial applications in power plants and wastewater remediation, as well as the GAC approach to potable water clarification. So we've been moving forward in that division nicely. This is our first significant contract that we have attained, and it's from a large client. It's in the power plant business, which is a business, of course, that we've been working in for over a decade now. And so we're working on helping them keep their process waters clean. And we expect that we'll be building more business of this kind as we go forward, especially through 2026.
So this wasn't for, let's say, potable drinking water. It's more for effluent water within the industrial process that it maintains its certain level of cleanliness.
Actually, it was in the industrial sector, but treating the water that's used within the system itself at the power plant.
Okay.
Or systems that are used to make steam and such. So it's a very interesting field, one that we understand and have been working to break into for some time now. And so this is a great validation of those efforts. This particular client, for example, would require about the same amount of material at least twice a year. So we would expect this client would be somewhere in the $2 million range, and we're pursuing many more like it. And we'll be bringing that results to market, of course, as it comes in through 2026.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to get into that. The activated carbon technology you use, that is a consumable. It gets sort of used up in the process and then they need to replace it. So this is ongoing business, not just for this client, but generally your solution or I guess in most water technology solutions, but your solution specifically, there's a renewable component to it with ongoing sales.
Yeah, so we expect, as I mentioned, this client to be a repeat customer probably twice a year as we go forward. So in this water treatment side of our business, we will actually be bringing other materials and chemicals to bear on the water treatment requirements in both the power plant industry and in the water utility industry.
All right. You mentioned GAC, or I don't think you defined it, but granular activated carbon. Could you please clarify what the GAC or GAC is and what that all means?
Sure. So it's probably the most prominent used medium in purifying drinking water today across the U.S. Granular activated carbon is used in a bed-style approach to purifying water, and it's seen as the up-and-coming main medium that will be used to capture PFOA and PFAS, or the forever chemicals. So there's a lot of work going on now, and has been for the past few years, in folks looking at how to put their own granular activated carbon system in place in order to maintain their present standards and also meet the new regulations as they arrive. So we announced a significant feedstock agreement about a year and a half ago. That facility is just about coming online. We expect it to be online producing in the next 3 to 6 months. So we'll be able to utilize that feedstock base to sell into the granular activated market as we progress through 2026. But our main long-term approach in the granular activated space is to reactivate those granular activated carbons once they're spent or used up at a facility. We've designed a process which we feel very comfortable about in order to be able to bring those spent carbons into our facility, reactivate them, add a customized activated carbon to them, and put them back to the customer with 100% efficacy of when they bought the carbons new. And we expect to be able to do that at about a 50% cost savings. So a very big step forward in being able to not only meet the PFOA, PFAS regulations, but to do so at a reasonable cost.
As well, I believe the price of sort of fresh granulated activated carbon has been increasing a lot lately. So I'm guessing that your ability to recycle it or renew it is especially advantageous given in a backdrop of a rising sort of virgin market.
Yeah, for sure. And it's probably on average $2 or more per pound now for quality granular activated carbon. We expect that to continue to rise over the next year or two, and on through to the implementation of the federal guidelines. But what many people don't understand is that almost half of the states in the country are taking on their own obligations to remove PFOA, PFAS, and those regulations will be kicking in as early as next year. So the demand for granular activated carbon will continue to rise, and along with that will be the price, of course. So we're positioning ourselves not only to be a supplier, but to be a leader in the reactivation side of the equation.
All right. And in on the regulation side, especially on PFAS and PFOS, are there both federal and then state and municipal regulations where I guess the federal would be the base and then states can put higher requirements on it?
Yeah, similar to the mercury regulations when they started to come in. When we started in business back in 2010, 2011, we started out by supplying powdered activated carbons to meet the state regulations. For example, in Washington State at the Centralia plant, way before the federal regulations came in place. They never came into 2015, 2016, but we had already been working with a number of different state regulated facilities in the meantime. And we see that happening now too. The reality is, once identified, which it has been in a broad sense across the country, many municipalities and in particular states themselves don't want to continue to provide drinking water with forever chemicals in them. So a lot of the states, basically 27 at this point, have said that they're going to go forward, put their own regulations in place, and that's what's driving all of the present day research and development work that we're of course involved in. And that's what's driving the price of the GAC. So there'll be a huge expenditure in infrastructure, putting granular activated carbon systems in place, but then also a follow along demand for the materials to feed them. And the problem with the PFOA, PFAS is it shortens the lifespan of these GACs. So every 6 to 9 months, it's expected they're going to have to replace them, which is very expensive, of course. So our approach of being able to, as you've said, reactivate or regenerate or recycle that activated carbon is a real go-to approach that not only saves money, but really reduces the environmental footprint that's required to produce these materials in order to clarify the water.
With you're just entering this market, you've got your first order in. You said you've hired several more salespeople in the for that line of business, and it's a huge industry. Are you able to give any sort of an I don't know about guidance, but sort of sense of how fast this business could grow, or how large it could be at the end of this year or next year?
Yeah, we're expecting some fairly rapid growth. I would not be surprised if our water revenues outpaced our air revenues in 2026. But with regards to guidance, I will be bringing some fresh guidance to market in the coming weeks to explain what we expect to see going forward. The potential is very, very big. And it's all driven now by our analytical lab in North Dakota and our design center in Pennsylvania. So as they interact more with utilities in finding solutions for them to be able to get their PFOA, PFAS regulations in line, then we expect to be able to grow that side of our business in conjunction with it. So I will make some basic guidance projections in the coming weeks for our water side, but the potential is huge even in 2026. Much more, of course, once we get past 2026 and get our first reactivation plant up and running, which we're scheduling now to do so by the end of 2026. The permitting process is just about finished, and we have a build-out situation that should take about 12 months.
In the water purification or cleaning business, there's a lot of infrastructure involved. Are you selling strictly consumables into that industry, or is there going to be some CapEx, call it, where they have to buy initial equipment or set up equipment from you? Or is it just you're using the existing infrastructure and using your GAC and other consumables in that?
So there's a lot of existing infrastructure now, which we will be working with to supply the material for. So you need to look at us as a tech company that brings new solutions to the infrastructure that's there or supports that OpEx once the CapEx has been spent and the facilities in place. So we'll be working alongside utilities and their engineering firms as they build out their GAC facilities to both provide the initial GAC and then reactivate it on an ongoing basis for years to come in order to keep that OpEx down.
Before, I'd like to talk about your air business, but before we go into that, I think we've covered most areas within the water business. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss in there before we talk about the air?
No, I think we're fine for now. When I
Okay.
bring some more news to market in the coming weeks, then we can discuss it in more detail.
All right, sounds good. All right, the air treatment business, you've been in that for that's your legacy ongoing business, and you had a large lawsuit several years ago that you won on, and now you've got a sort of a business-friendly approach. Can you talk about what's happened recently and how that is coming along?
Sure. So we had a major federal trial in Delaware, which we won about a year and a half ago, and the jury awarded us $57 million in damages. They also stated that the infringement that occurred was willful. Since then, there have been two very detailed opinions put forward by the court and the judge in control of the case. Both were very, how should I say it? They both confirmed in great detail that the charges that were sought at trial and we were credited with a win against were validated. And so at this point in time, we're just waiting for the final judgment from the judge. And we expect that any week. Expecting it this year for sure would be a reasonable expectation, I would say. And our attorneys have asked for 159 million plus based on the willfulness of the infringement, the time that the defendants had to correct the situation after they knew that they were infringing, and also the legal fees and the interest from that point of filing back in 2019. So we very much expect that there will be a number placed on all of that and presented as a final judgment in the coming weeks. That for us will be a real pivot point to be able to get on with the growth and development that we see in the water business that we've been working hard on for the past 3 years. So that'll free up the resources necessary to really go all in on this business that we see that we have a huge opportunity to expand in, especially given our skill set, the manpower that we've added to our team, and the opportunity as it develops first at the state level and then ultimately as a federal new regulation.
The companies which the lawsuit was against, you're working with them on a way out, so that they have a way of exiting the potential damages by converting into a commercial agreement and sort of making amends directly with you. Do I have that right? And can you
Well, Martin,
clarify on?
yeah, so Martin, so there's two separate groups. One is
Okay.
the group that were involved in the trial in a year and a half ago. That's a separate group from the group that is now presently being sued and taken to court, which we are trying to settle out prior to getting to court. So we've been very successful with that group. We started off with 14 different companies, power plants. We're now down to 7 that are remaining in that case, and we are in discussions with them to settle it all away. So we're hoping that we're able to settle all of those out this year, as a matter of fact, and also that the main judgment on the jury trial will come down in the coming weeks as well. So we would expect that the air side of our business will be strong, validated, and rewarded for the infringement that's taken place in the coming weeks.
I didn't really. There are two lawsuits. There's one that's been where you've had a judgment for you that's happened, and you've started another one against some other ones. So what you're negotiating settlements now are with the new lawsuit. The
Correct.
prior one, you're waiting for the final judgment from the courts.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, I did not understand it as that. Interesting. Okay. All right. So that could be on the historic lawsuit. That is big news that would be expected to come this year, you're saying.
Yes, we've had two opinions, one just recently in the past month, which were very positive for us and our claims, which bode well for a final judgment coming down in the near term.
All right. Rick, we've gone through a lot. Again, is there anything we haven't covered yet before we wrap this little interview up?
No, I think we've kind of covered it. We are moving forward to uplist next month onto the New York. Everything's on track with that. Other than the government lockout, which is keeping SEC from doing its work, but hopefully that'll get settled away in the next few days or week or two. Once that happens, then we should be able to move forward and make our entry onto the New York Stock Exchange, which we've been looking forward to for some time. Along with that, recently there was institutional coverage picked up by Lake Street, and we're also looking at coverage being picked up by 2 more large banks in the coming week or two. So overall, our story will finally be available to the larger investment community, the institutional market, and with the listing on the New York, would allow us to meet a lot of criteria for larger investments that we have never been exposed to before.
All right. That sounds exciting. Rick, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and talk to you again soon.
Excellent, Martin. Thank you.